This was a threat to our democracy in a way that we had not seen. And it manifested itself because of Donald Trump's inability to say. He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
Welcome back to Question Period. With 1 month to go until the U.S. election, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are neck and neck in the polls, particularly in battleground states. It's already been an election race for the history books, and it's sure to be a nail-biting race to the finish line. What are the issues to watch for, and who has the edge with just 4 weeks to go? Here for a special edition of The Scrum, Eric Ham is a CTV News political analyst. Evan Solomon is the publisher of G0 Media and a CTV News special correspondent. And Shannon Proudfoot is a feature writer for the Globe and Mail in the Ottawa Bureau. Hi, everybody. Very nice to see you today. I appreciate you making the time. Eric, I got to start with you. I'm watching it from the outside. You're there in the States, as is Evan. Is it as close as it seems?
It certainly is. And it's only, I think, going to get even closer as we know people begin to actually early vote. But also today, we just got some new numbers with the latest jobs report, which shows that the economy right now is red hot. So will that have an impact on Kamala Harris keeping that little bit of distance she has with Donald Trump? Only time will tell.
Evan, what's your sense of the issues that are particularly going to inform the votes of voters who are undecided in those swing states? Has that migrated at all from where it was, let's say, even when Kamala Harris took over the Democratic nominee?
This has been a campaign of surprises, and October is the October surprise. So you're seeing 7 states will decide this. So how things play out in those 7 states and the events that impact are changing this. So the jobs report that was just mentioned, the hurricane that's really impacted a swing state like North Carolina, that could really hurt Kamala Harris if the recovery goes badly. It could also suppress votes going out there. That's an issue. The abortion issue, we just realized that Donald Trump's wife, Melania, has just come out with a new book saying she's pro-choice, and she's just released a video saying that, in fact, it's a woman's right to choose. Does that mean it's only a right to choose if you're Donald Trump's wife? Is that a play that she's trying to say Donald Trump is not really bad on abortion, so there's room for everyone? Those issues are salient in the swing states, and they still are, and every day there's something that swings this one way or another.
Yeah, I think Evan's point is well taken, Shannon. Like, even over the last week, and I should say you were at both the DNC and the RNC covering it, trying to understand voters and what's motivating them. Just in the last week, you had the vice presidential debate, you had the turn of events in the Middle East, which of course really impacts a lot of swing voters in Michigan in particular, even outside there as well. And then you had this video from Melania Trump saying this, shocking thing that counters everything that her husband has campaigned on so far. Like, that's just the last week.
Yeah, so I don't know what kind of surprises October might have in store, but it seems to have sort of spent it already. It is a mark, though, I think, of how you can get into sort of a particular headspace. As Evan was saying, I don't know what to make of that Melania Trump video. It could be her going rogue and some kind of sort of marital spat in public, or it could be an attempt to shore up and sort of have almost a dog whistle message. The VP debate this week, the conventional wisdom is it doesn't really move the needle, and it's kind of the Hippocratic Oath idea, right? Do no harm to your running mates. But there was a really strange quality to that video, to that debate, considering how high stakes and sort of cutthroat this race has been. It was very tranquilized, right?
It was the opposite.
Yeah, it almost felt a bit gaslighty. It was sort of confusing to calibrate to it. And I think that's a reflection of the fact that J.D. Vance going in had sort of the opposite project to accomplish to Tim Walz, which is, his problem is not seen as competency. He's very obviously smart, but likability is a weakness for him. Whereas Tim Walz kind of needed to shore up the idea that he's substantial, that you know where he stands.
Eric, when you're looking ahead to these last 4 weeks, take us inside the campaigns. The debates, as we mentioned, we were just discussing, they're done now unless by some chance there happens to be another one, but it doesn't sound like there will be between the 2 presidential candidates. What are your expectations? Is it all going to be about stump speeches in all the swing states, or will there be more to it?
Right now, it's all about turnout, because we know that voters are beginning to early vote. And as it was just mentioned, there's been a massive hurricane in 2 of these key battleground states, Georgia and North Carolina. Kamala Harris was actually beginning to build momentum in the state of North Carolina, specifically when we saw the gubernatorial candidate, Mark Robinson, the Republican, begin to struggle with his own issues of a scandal that broke. And so now you wonder, what does that mean for the infrastructure in the state now that you have entire cities that have been washed away? But there's also the impact that this storm will have in Georgia, where Kamala Harris was actually trailing Donald Trump by at least a point. So now it becomes all about the ground game. And we know Kamala Harris has built local offices all across the country, especially in many of these key battleground states, whereas Donald Trump has actually contracted this out to Turning Point USA and to Elon Musk's super PAC. And we've already heard from former Republican Congressman Pete Huckster of Michigan, who says he has not seen any evidence that Donald Trump has a ground game in Michigan. So with about 30 days to go, that's what it's about, getting the turnout. And now the question is, can both of these candidates actually deploy their machines to get their people to the polls between now and November 5th?
Evan, what are you watching for in the interim?
Well, first of all, October 7th is coming up, and on Monday, and the anniversary of the massacre, and also a moment that has changed global politics. That's going to have blowback impact on the U.S. election. Donald Trump, the Democrats have framed him as the chaos candidate, right? And he is in many ways. January 6th, the way he debates, the lies he tells about Haitian immigrants eating pets and all that. But Trump counters with, you may call me the chaos candidate, but under Biden and Harris, the world's in chaos. And chaos does not help Kamala Harris when you've got wars breaking out in the Middle East and widening and Ukraine. So those events matter. That could have an impact.
Last word to you, Shannon. What are you watching for as this last month of campaigning comes upon us?
I'm watching for change, which I know sounds a bit strange in what we've said is a very dramatic race. But what's been notable is the polls have been not only incredibly tight the last couple of weeks, but quite stable. Not a lot has budged them. I think you'll see from the campaigns where they see prospects based on where they spend money and their even more precious commodity, where they spend their candidates' time, how we see them coalescing in different swing states, where they might see possibilities. I suppose you could read that two different ways, either where they see a vulnerability and they'll be trying to shore that up in a swing state, or where they see a possibility to pull ahead. So I think it'll be really interesting with just almost exactly a month to go, whether anything kind of breaks one way or the other, or whether we are all up until 4 o'clock in the morning on election night to see what's going to be.
I feel like that might be the case.
I think that's a safe bet.
Safe bet. Thanks, as far as safe bets go. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate the discussion. Eric Ham, Shannon Proudfoot, and Evan Solomon. That does do it for us this week at Question Period. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I'm Vashti Capellos. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on Power Play. Have a wonderful rest of your day.